In this video, I'm going to share 3 systems I run every week to stop my business and life from spiraling into the endless chaos. You might think you need the latest hot AI tool that you see trending on YouTube just to stay on top of everything, but honestly, I just use a few systems, ChatGPT, and some text documents that slot right into my workflow. These have helped me get outreach responses like this, cut down my outreach time by 88%, and receive comments like "this report is a goldmine," and "how did you analyze my niche so effectively?" So today I want to screen share with you my systems for personalizing my outreach, the mistake I see people making using ChatGPT for YouTube videos, and how I'm using ChatGPT to stay on track of my own goals. If you're a creator, stick around for the second one because it might be exactly what you're looking for. Let's dive in. So when I started doing cold outreach, I basically thought it was either you do mass email blasting to cold leads on email or whatever, or super hyper personalized. But I've been finding this middle ground that seems to be working. I've started getting some replies from people that are like, "I appreciate your cold outreach is actually personalized." And so I'm not some guru outreach god, but what I'm doing seems to be working well, and it seems to be balancing that line between enough outreach and enough personalization. And my response rate has been like 23 to 25%. So let me jump into and show you what exactly I'm doing here for my outreach system. So what I used to be doing when I started was these like hyper personalized Loom outreach. I would take a lead that looks qualified, watch their videos, and come up with ways that I can lead with value, and then make a Loom, and like I would run the Loom script like 10, 12 times just to get it so I didn't have those like awkward pauses and whatever in it. But I moved to personalized text over Instagram. And so what I basically do is I have this spreadsheet for my leads, and I will use my software on the back end that scrapes using the YouTube API, and basically filter my database of like 1 million channels and look for just the channels with specific criteria, between 1,000, maybe 20,000 subscribers and some other criteria, and then shove it into this spreadsheet. And I have things like, subscriber count, video count, view count, average views, average likes, stuff like that. That also has helped me. And so I filter based on what their description says. And so the idea here is basically getting the data and filtering it, putting it into a spreadsheet where it makes sense and you can use it. And so basically what I'll do is just go through each of these channels and open up, and I have this watch and match system that I'll use that I'll show you in just a sec. But basically what I'll do is I will open up their channel and I'll watch, first, I'll look for, are their titles too broad, too generic? That's one of the mistakes that I see people making. And then I'll open up like top 3, 4 videos, and I'll watch their intros. Do they have, a good hook? Are they using social proof? And then I'll jump around. Are they using, proper call to action? What does their description look like? And then based on that, I'll come over, and this is my DM kind of script system. My watch and match method that I've kind of put together, looking at intros, call to action, titles too broad, case studies, social proof, stuff like that. And then I have this document of all of my lead conversations, outreach messages. And so I'll just pick one of the previous ones that I sent, and then I'll spin it, personalize it to this creator's channel, and send it with that. Basically start with a hook, show, lead with some value. That's kind of the method that I'm approaching this with. Lead with some value, share some social proof that, enough of a hook that I show some authority, and then I put my kind of free report call to action inside the PS section of my message. And so, I've gotten a couple of people that are like, "I appreciate your outreach being so personalized. I get so many bad cold DMs and cold outreach messages." So this is what has been working for me. And so I think the generalized takeaway here is, if you have a repeated process to start looking at how you can systematize that and pull out the pieces. And if you're doing outreach, start to create like this is just the criteria that I'm looking for. I went from, trying to fully analyze someone's channel to pulling out, these are the like specific 4 pieces of things that I'm looking for and just like matching for, and to go from there. And so speaking of systematizing my process, I've actually started to systematize the watch and match components here into reusable assets that I've been using to help other creators with. And so let's talk about that as my second system. See, I feel like nowadays I see 2 types of people. There's people that are not using AI for any of their content strategy and content outlining. And then there are the people that are using ChatGPT AI to do like everything. And so the downside is you either aren't leveraging the upside of how AI can specifically help in the parts of content creation process, or you're using the, whatever ChatGPT gives you, and you end up sounding too generic, or it's missing the nuances of leveraging that upside where AI can really help. This is pretty much what I've been spending all of my time on nowadays, building a service that actually helps business owners, think coaches, agency owners, SaaS founders, use YouTube to actually increase conversions from their videos to actually get more leads, get more clicks, make more money, rather than the kind of YouTube entertainment style of YouTube strategy. There's quite a lot of nuances that are different that I've been finding and analyzing from hundreds of thousands of high conversion channels. And I'm at that stage where creators are starting to actually implement my advice and make new videos using what I'm giving them. So that's been very rewarding and cool to see, and starting to actually gather that proof. But basically what I'm seeing is the best way to use ChatGPT and AI in the content creation process is basically to segment parts of your process and be hyper-specific using ChatGPT AI to fix specific parts of the process, rather than just like, ChatGPT, it's great for the 0 to 1, help me outline a video on this, and it'll give you like, an outlined video. But then it's, how can you actually convert that into a high conversion style of script and style of video? So let me jump into this process that I've been finding. And so as I've been analyzing thousands of channels, doing outreach, using my software to analyze hundreds of thousands of videos, I've started to collect some of these core components, core building blocks of high conversion channels, and started to put them together into this document. And this is split out into a couple sub documents. But basically, what I want to say here is, for my system, I've found there's 3 steps for using AI most effectively. And that's first, finding on YouTube the highest quality success examples, what's working, and then reducing that, parsing those into real examples, then rebuilding that into the foundational building blocks of what works, and then using that to specifically target parts of your script. So let me get very concrete with you. I have this document on high conversion call to actions. And so basically what I've done is I've scraped all of the successful high conversion channels, how they do call to actions, and I've turned it into, these are the exact core building blocks of a high conversion call to action that actually sounds natural, is natively embeds in your video and doesn't actually sound like an advertisement. And getting into the nuances of like how to what type of viewer you are planning for this video and for your call to action, and then actually scraping the actual raw examples of call to actions. And so I've created this as a basically reusable asset. And so now when I'm making reports for creators and in my own videos, basically what I do is I just upload the document and say, help me tweak my intro, help me tweak my call to action. Here's the document of what works and the real examples, and then here's my script. And so now, rather than like, ChatGPT, help me outline my video or help me improve my call to action. You're saying help me improve it, but using this as the exact foundation. Like these are the examples that I know work, rather than ChatGPT just pulling out whatever it remembers. And so back to this 3-step system. It's like find what works, parse that into real examples and real building blocks that people are using, and then create a framework from that you can use to very specifically improve parts of your scripting and parts of your content strategy, rather than just like the generic, help me improve my intro, outline, whatever it is. The problem with this system is that it can take a lot of time, especially for a business owner whose time is very valuable and focused on the highest leverage tasks. And so if you actually want this exact high conversion call to action playbook that I made, send me a DM on Instagram and I will send it to you for free. So you just cut through all of the BS and just improve your call to actions with what actually works with high conversion channels out there. And so speaking of ChatGPT and using ChatGPT, I want to talk about my third system, and that's using ChatGPT to stay on track of my goals and how I'm integrating AI and ChatGPT into my goals and process. If you watched my video on using ChatGPT to uncover my limiting beliefs, a lot of people resonated with that. Someone left a comment on how I use ChatGPT for my goals and staying on track. And so I want to talk about that and my system for how I'm using AI for helping me reach my goals. I think a lot of people think goals are like, I just have to stay motivated and using motivation. But I think there's a really interesting opportunity now that we have AI on actually using it in a way that can help us stay accountable and actually help us with taking actions towards our goals. And so this is honestly probably the most consistent and the most progress that I've made since implementing this system in the last, 6 months to 9 months. So anyway, let's dive in. If you watched my video a little while ago on the systems I use to reduce decision fatigue, I talked about my goal setting system in that video. I'll link it below if you want to watch that as well. But basically I have this split up. If you read the book, The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran, that has taken a big inspiration here, as well as kind of the setting actions and habits side of Atomic Habits by James Clear. And so basically what I've done is I set quarterly goals. They're more technically 12-week year goals. And I've kind of split them up by business, personal branding, as well as life. And so I have a quarterly note goal note that I use here that tracks my progress towards those goals, really focused on the actions side of things. And then each week I've split that into what actions do I need to take this week that move me towards my quarterly 12-week year goals. And so I use basically just a weekly note template. Also, I forgot to mention, I use Obsidian here. It's free. It's just basically a wrapper around Markdown files. And so, speaking of the not using extra tools or AI tools, I would say pick something that is simple and that works for you. This has worked for me. I like the fact that it's just a wrapper around Markdown files rather than like my data is stored in some other service, because I run my entire life out of Obsidian and these files. And so anyway, there's a whole bunch of upsides to using Obsidian that I like. It's free. It's just a wrapper. But anyway, I split my weeks into, these are the actions that I need to take each week for making progress towards my 12-week year goals. And then, I have some other things. I'll come back to this in a second. And then each day is like, okay, what actions do I need to, what tasks do I need to accomplish? What actions do I need to take that will knock things off my weekly note that I know will make progress towards my 12-week year goal? And so some other things I've added here, reviewing top wins, bottlenecks, insights, tweaks to systems and tactics. And then I also track my hours worked, and then I have all of my daily notes show up there. And so that's how I'm tracking my goals and progress, basically. I would say this is probably a lot to take in if it's your first time and you have no system set up. I basically started this process, call it a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, with just tracking my days of like, okay, this is what I want to accomplish today. And so you can pair this back to what is more simple. Obviously the most important part is just starting out with something rather than trying to create an entire system. But I would say nowadays we live in this new AI era, and I can't tell you how many times it has been so useful to have my goals, my daily notes, things documented in files that I can actually just upload to ChatGPT to actually get personalized context, personalized feedback. It's been insane. I wasn't expecting it to work out this well, but if you can find I don't know if Notion has AI, Notion might have AI built into it, or I know Cortex has AI built into it. The thing that I've found most helpful is to just document things in context documents into notes. And so you can use those, upload those to AI. And so the last part of this is my accountability coach feedback. I run this every Sunday, basically, and I'll show you this in a second, uploading a whole bunch of context files, because remember, if you watch my ChatGPT limiting beliefs video, AI it needs context, and that's what you have that it doesn't have. And so in order to get that personalized feedback, it needs context about what are you working towards? What progress did you make? What actions did you take? What are you struggling with? Like, what are the wins? What are the things holding you back? And so it can actually help you pull out those threads. But without that context, it's just going to give you generic advice. And so this last part, accountability coach feedback every week. I just basically give it all my weekly notes, my quarterly notes, my daily notes, other context that it needs, and run through all these prompts. What went well, what didn't go well. Look at just my daily notes. Do you notice anything? I sometimes like to be open-ended and see what comes out. Sometimes I like to be very specific. Planning other weeks, other stuff, and so I'll show you that now. I showed this, I believe, in my ChatGPT limiting beliefs video. But anyway, I have this accountability coach project, and I just update it every week with project files. And so you can see this is my Q1 review for the last year, 12-week year, context about business work, past couple of weekly notes, past couple accountability coach feedback notes, current limitations, current goals, context about the reports that I'm doing, daily notes, and anything else. And so I'll just run through these. Basically, here's all my context, like what went well, what didn't go well. You have all the context, so you can give me the personalized feedback, and then I'll take what it responds with and flesh it out into that's a good call out, or here's some extra context, and just chat with it 30, 45 minutes, just enough. Typically the feedback that you need. But anyway, I found the most useful part of this is systematizing my process and documenting things, and then using AI specifically to giving it enough context and enough about progress, struggles, things like that, that it can actually give you personalized feedback. And so back to this core, common problem belief, it's less about feeling motivated or having a better, goal or smarter goals, whatever, and more about creating systems, creating habits, and using AI in the highest leverage fashion. So wrapping up, I hope this helps you, think more clearly and get some ideas for how to better systematize your life, feel more in control of the chaos of your life. I run my entire life through systems, as you have seen here. And so it has really helped me take away free up the mental space in my brain to actually focus on the more creative and focus on the problems and problem solving, the things that actually matter the most. And so anyway, if you like this, you might like my video on reducing decision fatigue with systems. I'll link that below, as well as my playlist on life systems. If you're a creator, shoot me a DM on Instagram for that call to action playbook, or check the link below for a free deep dive report. That's what, basically all I've been doing right now. And the feedback has been crazy good so far. So check that out. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace. I'm in beautiful Bali, Indonesia. Incredibly beautiful place. And I've picked the most bland background I could have ever seen. Comments like, this report is of my systems. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I share 3 systems I run every week to help me. There's no help. Oh, laptop is about to take off. There's no airflow.